For days before my dad's 60th birthday party, I got a notification. $8,500 had been charged from my account for catering and venue. When I asked about it, my mom said, "You don't have kids. This is how you show you care." My uncle chuckled. I took a breath and said, "Then I hope he likes empty plates." Turns out, I paid for everything. So I called off the arrangements. And when guests arrived to a closed venue, my mom texted me, "Why would you do this?" I just sent a screenshot. For days before my dad's 60th birthday party, I got a notification on my phone. $8,500. Venue. Catering. Cleared. One charge. My account. I blinked. Sat there in the parking lot outside my office, holding a lukewarm coffee, staring at the screen like it might adjust itself. It didn't. No one had told me. No one had asked. No one had even pretended to include me. I called my mom. She answered like everything was normal. "Oh, that," she said, with that casual warmth she uses when she's hiding something. "We thought it'd be easier this way. You don't have kids. This is how you show you care." I didn't say anything. She added, "It's for your father. Come on. It's a big deal." In the background, I heard my uncle laugh. Not big, not loud, just enough to be heard. I could feel something settle in my chest. That low, familiar weight. The same one I carried at the last family event, and the one before that. That internal voice again. They don't want you here. They just want what you can give. They didn't treat me like family, more like a resource. I didn't argue. Didn't ask why they used my card. I didn't tell her she'd crossed a line. I'd already done that too many times, and it never made a difference. Instead, I took a breath and said, "Then I hope he likes empty plates." There was silence on her end. A small, stunned pause. Maybe she thought I was joking. Maybe she thought I'd laugh it off like always. I didn't. That night, I logged in and canceled every booking tied to the transaction. Venue. Catering. AV setup. Done. Not angrily. Not out of spite. Just clean, methodical removal. Step by step. The next morning, I turned off notifications. I didn't want to watch the fallout. But at 6:12 p.m., I got a single text. "Why would you do this?" From my mother. No greeting. No context. Just confusion. As if the issue wasn't the theft, but the boundary. I didn't reply. I just sent a screenshot. The charge. The cancellation confirmation. The words. Transaction reversed. Then I put my phone face down and made dinner. I didn't check it again. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry, that passed somewhere between the phone call and the refund confirmation, but because my brain wouldn't stop turning. Not spiraling. Calculating. I started pulling receipts. Not literal ones, emotional ones. Years of them. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. I pay, they laugh. I give, they expect more. I show up, they move the chairs. Every time. There was the time I flew in for my mom's birthday, spent $1,200 on catering because she deserves something special, and got seated at the kids' table because we didn't expect you to stay long. I stayed 20 minutes, long enough to watch my cousin's toddler spill juice on my coat. No one noticed. There was my sister's wedding. I wasn't in the bridal party. I wasn't even asked to give a toast. But I was the one who paid the deposit on the photographer. She sent me the link and said, "Just this one thing." That one thing became 5 vendors and $7,800 by the time it was over. No one thanked me. Not once. And the worst part? They never had to ask. Because I always said yes. Quietly. Automatically. Like that was my job. The single one. The one without kids. The one with extra. Extra money. Extra time. Extra space in the corner. I remember a dinner last year. Thanksgiving. I drove 5 hours in traffic. Brought wine. Brought dessert. Got there late and found my seat taken. Not metaphorically. Literally. My uncle's coworker had brought his daughter, and she looked so lonely, so they gave her my spot. I ended up on a folding chair next to the trash can. No one even noticed until I left. I thought that night had been the worst. Until now. Because this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't even laziness. It was strategy. Calculated omission. They didn't forget to ask. They didn't forget to include me. They didn't want me involved, only invested. Because if I'm not part of the picture, they get to paint me however they want. The silent one. The awkward one. The one who just shows up, pays up, and vanishes. Not a son. Not a brother. A source. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it got. This party, the $8,500 they took, wasn't an exception. It was the clearest version of the rule. I started listing it out. just for myself. On paper, mom's 58th, I paid for the venue. Wasn't in a single photo. Brother's baby shower, I covered the decorations. Didn't get invited. Sister's engagement party, paid for the cake. Found out from Instagram. Grandma's memorial, I paid for the flowers. My name wasn't on the card. Line after line. No gratitude. No inclusion. No empathy. I wasn't family. I was funding. That realization hit harder than the charge itself. Because money comes back, but identity doesn't. They took my role and replaced it with a function. I closed the notebook and made a decision. No more. Not yet publicly. Not out loud. But inside, something final locked into place. Not out of rage. Out of math. I wasn't a guest at their table. I was the legs holding it up. And if they couldn't see me, they'd feel it when I stepped away. I started with the vendor list. There were 6 of them: catering, venue, AV rentals, floral services, dessert table, and a band. Every one of them had contracts signed under my name, using my card, my billing address, my phone number. They'd even called me with confirmations. I just hadn't realized the extent, hadn't noticed how deep they'd built their plans into me. I didn't yell. I didn't send rage texts. I just opened my laptop and began. First, the venue. They answered immediately. Hype Mason. Like I was a friend. I asked if the balance had been fully charged. It had. I asked if I was the only payer on file. I was. Then I asked what their policy was for cancellation. The manager paused, said it was unusual this close to the date, but I was the client, so if I insisted, yes. Full cancellation. Partial refund. I said yes. Then the caterer. For $1,200 for a plated dinner and past appetizers. Shrimp skewers. Filet medallions. The contract included custom menu cards and a late-night taco bar. She sounded disappointed when I told her to cancel. Are you sure? I said I was. But your mom said. I cut her off. She's not on the card. The florist was next. I'd paid $1,300 for arrangements I'd never seen. Not once was I sent a mock-up. They'd all gone through my mom. I told the designer the event was no longer happening. She sighed and said, honestly, I had a feeling. That line stayed with me. Then I went after the band. They were small-time, local. 3 siblings. They'd already posted an Instagram story tagging the event. Can't wait to celebrate with the family this weekend. I messaged them. Told them plans had changed. Cancel the deposit. All that took 3 hours. 3 quiet, surgical hours. I didn't call anyone in my family. Didn't explain. I didn't owe them an explanation. They'd taken what wasn't offered. I was just reclaiming it. Next, I moved to the technicals. Streaming services. Shared calendars. The family Dropbox account where they kept party planning files, pictures, logistics, spreadsheets. I deleted my access and disabled their uploads. Then I changed the passwords on every platform I controlled. None of it petty. Just thorough. I opened my banking app and flagged the original $8,500 charge. Not fraudulent, authorized, but disputed. I asked to reverse it under grounds of unauthorized use by family without consent. The rep said she understood. You'd be surprised how often this happens, she said. I wasn't. By 6 p.m., I had emails from all vendors confirming the cancellations. I archived everything, filed every receipt, organized them into labeled folders by vendor. I didn't need to prove anything, but I wanted to be ready. At 6:42 p.m., I got the first text from my mom. What is going on? Then, you canceled everything? Then, people are showing up and there's nothing here. Then, why would you do this? I didn't reply. Not right away. Instead, I screenshotted each message. Then I scrolled up to the charge confirmation from 4 days ago. $8,500. Posted. Cleared. Under my name. I took a screenshot of that, too. At 7:03 p.m., I sent one message. A single image. The bank screenshot. No caption. No explanation. I put the phone down. That night, I ate leftovers on my couch. I didn't turn on the TV. I just sat there, watching the city lights outside my window flicker against the dark. My inbox buzzed. Voicemails started piling up. My uncle tried calling. Twice. Then my dad. Then my cousin. I let every call go to voicemail. They'd been happy to spend my money when it was silent. Now they could sit in the silence without it. At 9:14 p.m., my sister texted. Just 2 words. You're being unreasonable. I smiled. Not out of spite. Just clarity. This was never about money. It was about consent. About never being asked. About being expected to show up and fund a party I wasn't even introduced in. Because that was the plan, wasn't it? They wanted a celebration, but not one that included me. Just one that relied on me. My dad's 60th was supposed to be a statement. Look how loved we are. Look how big we celebrate. But I'd seen the guest list. Seen the names circled, and mine scribbled in the margins. There was a table for family. And then me, tucked into overflow. They wanted the cake, the champagne, the music. They just didn't want me sitting next to it. So I made sure they could still have all of that, just without the funding. I heard later that people showed up to a locked venue, that my uncle stood outside trying to redirect guests to a nearby diner, that my mom cried in the car, screaming into the phone at vendors who didn't answer, that my dad didn't say a word, just sat behind the wheel, stunned. No one offered to cover the costs. No one had even known it was on my card. And that was the point. They never saw me as part of the celebration. Only the infrastructure. I didn't scream. Didn't demand an apology. I didn't even post about it. All I did was remove myself. And they noticed. Not because I made noise, but because the music stopped. They didn't call the next morning. That would have required coherence. They weren't ready for coherence. Instead, the first message came in at 3:27 a.m. from my mother. People were humiliated last night. How could you do this to your father? No punctuation. Just rage wrapped in injury. By 6 a.m., I had 7 more. We had friends there. This was supposed to be a family moment. You embarrassed us. You could have talked to us like an adult. This is not how families behave. You've always had issues. You need help. I didn't respond. Not out of avoidance. Out of principle. Because I'd seen this cycle before. Step 1, violate. Step 2, gaslight. Step 3, blame the reaction. Step 4, rewrite the narrative. At 8:42 a.m., my dad broke his silence. I can't believe you would sabotage your own family's reputation. For what? A little attention? No mention of the money. No acknowledgement that it was my card, my account, my name. Just the usual script. How dare I disrupt the image? Then my uncle chimed in. He called me directly. I let it ring. He left a voicemail. You humiliated us in front of everyone. You couldn't just be normal for once? You always have to make everything about you. I played that one twice. Not because it hurt, but because it was fascinating how deeply they believed it. By noon, the group thread exploded. Not just them, cousins, distant aunts, even my dad's old business partner somehow found a way into the storm. They threw everything at me. He overreacted. Selfishness. He's gone mental. What happened to Mason? He used to be the good one. The word good stung, because I knew exactly what it meant. Good meant silent. Good meant generous without boundaries. Good meant useful, but never central. Never seen. Never loved for who I was. Only for what I provided. By 3 p.m., my phone was full. Messages. Missed calls. A few voicemails that began with shaky voices and ended with curses. One said, "We never knew how much this affected you. We just didn't want to say it." And there it was. The mask off. They weren't trying to repair. They weren't trying to understand. They were trying to win the story. Because if I was unstable, then they didn't have to examine the structure. If I was dramatic, then they didn't have to look at the theft. If I was selfish, then they could keep pretending they were the victims. At 5:30 p.m., my sister texted. I hope it was worth it. You completely torn this family apart. I read that one out loud. Laughed. She hadn't texted me once during the party prep. Not when they charged my account. Not when the vendors thanked me. Not when I canceled. Only now, when the image was fractured. At 7:02 p.m., my mom called again. I didn't answer. She called 5 more times. I blocked the number. Then she switched tactics. Email. Subject line. Let's fix this. The body. We were all under a lot of pressure. It's your father's 60th. We were just trying to make it perfect. You could have just talked to us. This is cruel. You've always been sensitive. We didn't think you'd blow it up like this. You've made things very difficult. Please come home. It wasn't an apology. It was a performance. A guilt trip with a bow. At 10:43 p.m., I finally replied. No. Just that. Because anything more would invite debate. And I wasn't interested in explaining my right to say no. That night, they tried one last move. My mom left a voicemail. Crying. Stuttering. Half praying. We didn't mean it. We didn't mean to hurt you. We were just tired. Your father is devastated. Everyone's talking. I told them you're just going through something. I told them it's not who you are. You're not like this. You'll come around. I listened to it once. then saved it. For my records. For the archive. Because the message was clear. They still believed this was temporary. That I'd fold. That I'd revert to good. But I wasn't folding. I wasn't returning. And they weren't losing a son. They were losing an infrastructure. And it terrified them. I never meant to go public. I truly didn't. After reversing the $8,500 charge that had been pulled from my account without permission, after my mother texted that I had embarrassed the family, after my uncle branded me unstable, I still planned to let it die in silence. I thought I could hold the line privately, boundaries, canceled plans, block numbers, move on. But then they started calling my job. First, it was a quiet reach out to my manager. Just a question, is he okay? Should we be worried? The voice sounded rehearsed, professional. Concern with a layer of threat. Then came the emails to some of my longest-standing clients. One of your vendors is under personal stress, they wrote. Might want to double-check their ability to deliver. Subtle pressure masked as concern. I realized in that moment they were trying to distance themselves instead of listening. Not repair. Not reconcile. Erase. So I opened the folder I had created after canceling everything. Boundaries_June 2025. A storage vault of triggers and proof. Carefully archived. Screenshot of the $8,500 charge, the one that appeared out of nowhere 4 days before my father's 60th. Confirmation emails from every vendor, detailing cancellations and full reversals. All text messages from my mother, uncle, dad, accusations, manipulations, guilt, shame. Voicemails where they manipulated sympathy. One from dad, you're destroying our reputation. You're tearing this family apart. Email thread from my mom. Let's fix this. We're all under pressure. It wasn't personal. 100-sentence summary I never planned to share. Ever. I didn't write a manifesto. I didn't call them out by name. No profanity. No theatrical pleas. I distilled it all into a post. For days before my dad's 60th birthday, $8,500 was charged to my account without my permission. I reversed the payment, canceled the venue, the catering, the band. I became the villain for ruining the family. But this is what human boundaries look like in action. Not noise. Clarity. Then I attached blurred screenshots, the charge, the reversal, the texts, the blame, the shame. I hit publish at 8:12 a.m. Within 20 minutes I saw signs. My LinkedIn notifications blew up. Shares. Comments. I recognize this. Thank you for doing this, from one silent ATM to another. A former classmate reached out. I'm quietly proud. A vendor from the canceled party DM'd. If they need proof, they have mine. By noon, hundreds of shares. 2,000 by end of day. A ripple turned into a wave. But more importantly, they heard it. They saw that I wasn't reacting emotionally. I was releasing documentation. I was not lashing out. I was exhaling truths. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I got messages from colleagues. From distant relatives asking, no one told me, and why didn't you reach out? I replied once. I offered them proof. Not apologies. Tomorrow, I told myself, I'll visit Dad. Just to say happy birthday. I love you. No drama. No pile of receipts. Just the bones of it. But tonight, I needed to watch the reactions. My brother texted at 3 p.m. What are you doing? Tone, accusation, confusion, desperation. My mom. This is twisted. You're inflaming everything. Not, I'm sorry. Not, can we talk? Just righteous anger. My uncle emailed. This is slander. You've damaged the family. We are considering legal recourse. This one surprised me, not emotionally, but legally. That's when I knew. I'd won the power shift. They weren't worried about truth. They were terrified of exposure. They asked me to stop, and my lawyer told them to show receipts. So I did. Legally sound emails forwarded, timestamps intact. That night, a message from Mom. You've destroyed everything. Our dignity is gone. Think of your father's heart. She didn't ask for reconciliation. She begged for reputation. I watched the line on the screen flash blue-red. I didn't respond. Because by now the truth wasn't destructing them. It was setting me free. Inside me, I heard silence. And in that silence, clarity. I haven't blocked them. I haven't spoken to them. I'm not getting into who's right or wrong. I'm done defending my integrity. I opened a new document titled No More. One line. No. I exist. Boundaries stay. Some part of me expected backlash. Maybe legal threats. Maybe more guilt. What I got instead, more silence. Because they realized there are no gaslighting rounds in public. I'm not stepping down professionally. I'm not seeking sympathy. I'm holding space. No apology. No reversal. No dog to fight. Just peace. They say I destroyed something. Maybe I did. But what they never understood is, what they built on money and manipulation never belonged to me anyway. They took my card. I took my voice. They didn't text for 3 days after everything went public. Then, suddenly, can we meet? From my mother. Just us. Just talk. From my father. I agreed. Not out of hope. Out of curiosity. They chose a quiet coffee shop. Neutral territory. No decorations. No cousins lurking in the background. They were already seated when I arrived. My mother stood up, reached for a hug. I nodded, sat down. My father opened with what he thought would be an olive branch. We miss you. We didn't handle things right. I said nothing. My mother followed. We never meant to hurt you. It got out of hand. But you're still family. Still family. I looked at them. The people who had called me unstable, who let others believe I'd had a breakdown, who used my money and then called me cruel for noticing. You didn't hurt me by accident, I said. You hurt me by design. Then got mad when I didn't stay silent. My mother's smile collapsed. My father said, quieter. We didn't realize how much it affected you. That's the point, I replied. You never asked. They tried to explain. Stress. Pressure. We didn't mean it like that. But I'd heard it all before. So I gave them the only truth that mattered. I didn't leave because of one party. I left because I became infrastructure. You don't talk to the plumbing. You just expect it to work. And when it breaks, you don't ask if it's tired. You complain. My mother's eyes filled, but I didn't flinch. I'm not angry anymore, I added. I'm done being angry. I'm just done. I stood up, paid for my coffee. Only mine. At the door, I turned back once. You didn't lose your son. You lost access to him. Then I left. And they didn't follow. And that silence, finally, was mine.